Hey everybody, I wanted to make this video all about the Beatles White Album, and as you can probably tell with the White Album poster behind me and all these copies of the White Album, it's one of my favorite Beatles albums. And the copy I specifically want to talk about is this copy right here, which is an original stereo UK. This is a third pressing from 1968. And it sounds amazing. And I just posted this on the website, needlemeetsvinyl.com. And I told you all that I was going to have the Beatles on the website. And here they are. And I just want to make this video more about kind of my process for finding what I consider the best sounding White Album. As you can see here, I've got a lot of copies of the White Album. And I'm going to go over all of them kind of quickly just to show you what I had to work with. But first off, let me talk about this one and this one. These are both almost identical copies of stereo UK pressings from 1968, and they're both the third run of the albums, and they both sound great. But this one that's on the website sounds even better than this one, and I don't really know why, because they have identical stampers. But this just goes to prove the theory that you can have identical stampers of vintage pressings of an amazing album, and they can both sound so different, because they really do. And a little bit of backstory about this one, the one that's on the website. This came to me at the last minute. I'd already gone through all these White Albums, and this was going to be the one that I was going to put on the website. But I was delayed because I had a friend of mine who messaged me a couple days ago at the last minute and said that he had a White Album that he wanted to sell, and he thought I'd be interested in it because it's an original UK stereo. So I went over, we listened to it at his place. It sounded really good on his stereo. And actually, from the moment he played it, I knew there was something really special about this one. It had just an extra bit of, well, first of all, it was cleaner than this copy, and it had just an extra bit of something, some kind of extra magic. I can't really tell you exactly what that is. It's hard to put into words, but it's just something when you hear it, when you hear that needle hitting the record, it's just got that something, and this one had that. So this came to me just a couple of days ago, and it was seriously like a last minute thing, but it totally is the best sounding White Album out of all of these. And it's in great shape, and it comes with all four of the original photos of the Beatles, and it comes with the original poster, which I have this poster back here. This is a framed copy that I usually have in the other room, but I brought it out here just for the video. But yeah, let me go into now just my process of how I decide on what is the best sounding record. And this goes for all the records that I have on the website. This is exactly what I do for all of them. I have had a lot of emails, by the way, of people who say to me, did you really listen to, however many copies of a certain album just to find out which one? The answer is yes. This is always true. As you can see here, I have, let's see, how many White Albums do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I won't even count these three back here because these are the remasters. But we got 9, 10, 11, and then I have another one in the other room, which is 12. So technically speaking, I had 12 White Albums, but really I think I went through 9 when it came down to finding this, because I had a few requirements when I wanted to choose the White Album. I didn't want to put any reissues, remasters. Well, not reissues, I should take that back. I didn't want to put any of the remasters on my website, just because they're still pretty easy to come by. If you want to find them yourself, you can find the 2012 stereo remaster. I think you can still find the 2014 Mono Remaster, and you can definitely still find the remix that was done by Giles Martin. I guess that was just this last year, 2018. So while I did listen to those in the sense of just kind of like just knowing those in the back of my mind of how they sound, and they do sound very good, I wanted to stick to just the Beatle approved, all four Beatle approved original stereo mix and master of the White Album. So let me just talk about now all of the ones that I used to do this. So I talked about these two, and we will come back to this one, by the way. But these are the two original stereo UK pressings from 1968. Both of them are from the third pressing. So for now, we'll just put these to the side. Then I had this This is my own personal copy of a very early US copy, stereo copy of the White Album. Obviously, the US only had the stereo release, but just to clarify that for some of you, these are all stereo copies I'm talking about here. So this is a US copy from on Apple Records, but made by Capitol Records. And actually, no, I'm totally 100% wrong. The White Album is very hard to distinguish sometimes. This is my German stereo pressing from, I believe this is from 1969, if I'm correct. But this is a German copy of the White Album that sounds really, really great. I remember now. I put these in the order of how I ranked them as far as the sound quality. So this German pressing of the White Album, you've probably heard me talk about this before. At one point, I had two of these. I just sold my other copy of this a couple months back on eBay. But this copy is amazing. It sounds really, really good. These are definitely hard to come by. They sell for a lot of money online. I got really lucky with this one, but it sounds good. But it definitely does not beat the one that I have on the website, this original UK copy. This German one does sound really good, though. It comes very, very, very close, but not quite as good. So that's the German. And then this is the one I was going to say. This is the one from my collection. This is a original US pressing of the White Album, and this is it's got an early number on here. It's 0056049. Although, when it comes to the numbers, you can't really base that completely off of if that's a really early one or non-early one, because for each different run of White Albums, they would start the numbers over. And that's at least my understanding of that. And there were different numbers for each country that the albums were printed in. So the UK and the US all had different numbering systems. So it gets a little tricky when it comes to the numbers on here. But the numbers are really cool because obviously it makes your White Album 100% individual and just very, very cool. So anyway, this is the stereo copy. Now, the stereo copies from the US, I don't rank them very highly, these original stereo ones. There are some US pressings that do sound good, and those are coming up next. But first, this one is another early, or actually no, this is not early. This is a early 70s White Album printed in the US on the Apple label. And it doesn't sound all that great. I've had this one for a very, very long time. In fact, this was my very first White Album I ever owned. But I did use it when trying to figure out which one sounds the best, and this one wasn't all that great. Next up, this is a very good US copy, and in my opinion, if you need / want to get a US pressing of the White Album, this is a great one. This is on the Capitol Purple label, and this is a Wally pressing of the White Album. I believe it's got the Wally thing in there. Maybe not. I could be totally wrong. Either way, it sounds great. I listened to this when trying to figure out the best sounding White Album, and it sounds very good. You can get these for very, very good price. I mean, under $20, definitely. You can probably find one of these in very good shape. These Capitol Purple label White Albums. So if you're going to go for the US edition of the White Album, or you just want to get the White Album on a budget and you want to get it on vinyl, this is a good way to go. So that's the White Album on the US. Now these are just some kind of, I included these just to say that I tried to do as far reaching as I could when it came to the White Album. This is from Argentina, so it's an Argentinian pressing of the White Album. And it's got a number on here, which is 4,518, which is kind of cool. This was sent to me by one of you, actually, one of my YouTube fans. And it was so cool when it got sent to me. I will say, though, it's an amazing collector's item, but it sounds absolutely terrible. The pressing, you can tell it was pressed from like a maybe third or fourth generation tape. So it's really kind of a distant recording, but it's really cool to have this on vinyl and to have it from Argentina. And it's got really cool labels. Check out those orange and yellow Parlophone labels. Very cool. And yeah, I'm definitely happy to have it in my collection. And actually, let me put it back in this little baggie here. I don't keep it in the usual, high quality inner sleeves just because it doesn't sound that great anyway. And these are the original ones that came with it, so I'm trying to keep it all together like that. And it has, by the way, the normal inside gate fold, but it's not quite as sharp as the ones we're used to, and the text down here is a little bit smaller. So anyway, that's from Argentina. Then this is a copy from Canada that one of my online friends sent to me, and you know who you are. This is from Canada, and this is on the Capital Rainbow label, and it sounds pretty good. I will say it sounds pretty good, but it definitely does not rank anywhere near the UK pressings of the White Album. So that's from Canada. Then, of course, like I was talking about, this is the 2014 Mono Remaster. Sounds great. If you want the mono mix and you don't want to spend over $200, $300, this is the way to go. You can probably get one of these. I'm assuming now, I think they're out of print, but I'm assuming you can get one of these for maybe like $50, $60, something like that online. I don't know for sure, but worth checking out. Then this is the 2012 Stereo Remaster that was released on vinyl. This sounds pretty good. I will say that in my opinion, I think that the even the Capital Purple label sounds better than this for my money. And this is still readily available as well if you want to pick this up at probably any record store or online. I've even seen some of these at Target. So if you want to go for that, you can definitely check that out. Also, I will add, one of the reasons why I don't like this very much is it seems like the bass on here isn't very true. While the bass has been boosted on here, and that is very cool, because sometimes on the White Album you can kind of get some pressings that do kind of lack bass. At the same time, it's almost like the bass on here, is not really authentic, and for me that kind of ruins it a little bit. But still, if you're getting the White Album and this is the pressing that you have, it's not bad at all. And then last but not least, this is the remix that came out just this last year, the Giles Martin remix of the White Album. And you probably know my opinion about this, but I think it sounds great. It's a different experience. I think it's important to own this as well as a mono copy, and as well as the original 1968 stereo mix of the album, because they're all very different, and they're all worth owning because they're all the Beatles. So you can't really go wrong there. So that's that. But let's now go back and talk about the three copies that were the top three for me when it came down to finding the best one to put on the website. So this was the winner. This UK 1968 stereo third pressing. This is the one on the website right now. This is the winner. It is a phenomenal listening experience. First of all, the stereo image on here is wide and very, very nice. Sometimes on the White Album, I don't know why, but there are times where on certain pressings, on stereo pressings, the stereo image just does not seem that wide. I don't exactly know why that is, what the technical aspects of that are, but obviously it has to do with how it was pressed, how it was mastered, all that kind of stuff. But this one is excellent. And that was a big factor in why I decided this was the winner. Another big factor why I decided this was the winner is because it has excellent clarity, and definitely the best clarity of all three of these copies, which are, in order of what I think they sound best, this one, the one on the website, being the best, the second best being the other 1968 stereo mix, which is the third pressing, And then coming in very close, these are almost tied for second, is the German, early 70s German pressing. Also excellent clarity. So this is how I then decided which one was the best. I listened to all three of these, and I would pick one song per each side of the record to go against. So I think for side one, I picked Dear Prudence. For side two, I believe I picked Martha, My Dear. Side three, I chose, what did I choose? Oh, Mother Nature's Son, because it has excellent acoustic guitar, and that kick drum is also a good indicator of the low end that a pressing can produce. And then for side four, I chose Revolution, another really good, has good acoustic guitars, has good electric guitar overdubs, just a really sonically nice track. So I would play all of those against each other. So I would find, which Dear Prudence sounded the best. Hands down, this one sounded the best. Which Martha, My Dear sounded the best. Again, this guy sounded the best. And then so on and so on. I mean, that's exactly how I did it. And I always would go back and reference each copy to make sure that does this one still have the best sounding version of that song? And always this one came out on top. It was just like night and day. You could tell this is the one, and it sounds great. So now that you kind of get an idea of how I go about doing it, and I also, by the way, should mention that I use two different record players to try to find out the best sound, because I want to get as much diversity as I can when it comes to listening, because I know a lot of you obviously don't have the exact same record player that I have. So I think it's important to try to listen to it in as many different ways as possible. And so I got this record player right here, which is my main one. This is a dual 1218. And then I have another one in the other room, which is a Techniques. And the Techniques isn't quite as nice, but it still sounds good. And I just think it's important to try to be as diverse as possible. And I have a third player as well that I could access if I want to. But it's not as good as the two I just mentioned. So let's now get back to this copy, the excellent copy that's on the website right now, and I will show you the records so you can take a look for yourself. They are in just really, really nice condition. The guy I bought this from, he's a hardcore Beatles collector. He has amazing stuff in his collection. And by the way, when I say stuff, he's got records, amazing records, the records that you want to get, the best ones. He also has amazing Beatles memorabilia, lots of autographs, lots of really rare photos, just a really, really cool collection. So I felt very good purchasing this from him. So there's side one, and it just is really, really nice. And the interesting thing about this is that, on most records you can see like they're banded, right? So you can see each individual track, know where to put the needle. This one doesn't have that. It's all just one continuous flow. So it's hard to find where, like each track begins and ends. But you can kind of get an idea by just looking at it. There's side two. I should mention, by the way, that the reason I know this is a third pressing is if I show you this label, which I don't think is going to show up on my camera because it never does, but you just have to believe me, that it's a third pressing because it doesn't have the top line on there which says like something about the no reproduction in the UK or something like that. There's that line that's across the top. This one doesn't have that, but this one does have this an EMI recording, which is in quotation marks and brackets. So this is the third pressing from 1968. And by the way, if you want to check that out, you can go on Discogs, and I'm sure you'll be able to see for yourself that this is indeed that pressing. Because I know when it comes to Beatles albums that people want to know exactly what they're getting, and I totally understand that. So if you check on the website right now on needlemeetsvinyl.com, in the little write-up I did for the album, I did list as many important bits of information as I could to let you know exactly what copy this is. I even listed the stampers. By the way, they're all -1 or -1, not -1, -1 stampers. And that's basically it for now. I mean, this thing sounds really good. So if you're a Beatle collector and you want to get an original UK White Album from 1968, here's the way to do it. And I should also add, the reason I think this is even extra special is because this is the White Album that all four Beatles, all four of them, signed off on, and George Martin included. This is the one that when they put it out, this is exactly as they wanted it to be heard. Yes, there's also a mono mix, but that was only released in the UK. So for most of the world, and honestly most of even the UK, from my understanding, the stereo mix was what people heard. And this is the first time with the Beatles that the stereo mix, they were there for that. They were there for the mixes. It was just as important to them as the mono mix. And I think when it comes to owning the White Album, you need to own both, a mono mix and a stereo mix. And if you're going to own the stereo mix, why not get one from 1968? This is exactly how it would have sounded on your turntable if you bought this in the stores. So it's a very, very cool collector's item and a very, very cool listening experience. So head on over to neilmeetsvinyl.com, check it out. You can read all about it. I wrote a very, very long article on this exact copy here, and you can get a better idea of what it's all about. So, and by the way, you will see on there, this is the most expensive record that I have on the website right now, and that's because obviously it's a very collectible album from 1968. But I did try to keep the price reasonable. And if you look elsewhere online, you'll see that there are other copies of this that are going for astronomical figures. So I tried to keep it fair and, not just an unreachable price. So go on the website, check it out. In the comments below, let me know if you have any questions or any comments to add. I would love to hear what you have to say. And that's it for now. Stay tuned, by the way. I will have a very excellent copy of the Beatles' Revolver album coming up really soon. It'll probably be on the website sometime next week. So stay tuned for that. Until then, you can go and drool over this White Album copy, and whoever gets it, you are in for a treat. So that's it for now, and we'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.